Good morning, Spags. We normally don't see each other at this hour, and now in the cold, hard light of day, we are doing splash play.
Well, once we saw it was rainy and snowy out on the East Coast, we knew we had to be up bright and early to do a show today. But it's divisional round weekend, 4 games to talk about. We also have a 2-day NFL DFS slate that, quite frankly, I'm not the most thrilled with. And we are going to talk about, I don't know what else we're going to talk about, Pete. So let's just do the intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play, the fantasy football podcast for every game under the sun. And once again, I am Chris Spags, joined by your friend of mine, Pete Overzet, as Lucas points out, 6:30 a.m. on the West Coast. So we are thriving in the sunlight here in the morning, Pete.
Well, I mean, it is nice that you moved out here because now we have this in play because there was no chance in hell when you were in LA that you'd be doing this at 6:30 a.m.
Well, I did do the Osmo shows at like 6 or 6:30 in the morning sometimes.
Really?
And
Oh.
I thought they were good quality shows, but I think that like the bit has to be like, oh, we're waking up Spags to do a show. And I just do a show like, I don't know. Yeah, that guy's pretty good at 3K.
It reminds me of, I don't know, for some reason where it flashes me back to is like high school basketball practices. Sometimes our coach would make us come in and do them at 6:30 or 7 a.m. before school. And you're just always dragging ass at those. But then once you get going, you're like, fine, it's fine. We're here. And now I'm not having to practice in the afternoon.
Are you one of those people that like, and there's always these articles about like CEOs and their traits. And it's like, oh, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I get in a nice breakfast and read the newspaper. And like athletes too, they'll talk about waking up at 6:30. We all know the first guy to the gym, last guy to leave kind of tropes. But do you believe that actually matters? Because I think you could be just as functional, just as hardworking, getting going at 10 a.m.
I agree with your take. To me, it's more about how you manage your time. And I do find it easier to manage my time in the morning, that there's far less distractions. Like if I'm trying to carve out 2 hours in the afternoon to do something where I need to be hyper focused, it's really hard for me to do that in the afternoon. I will generally try to block that off for the morning. So I do appreciate a good morning routine. But yeah, some of these guys are insane. Did you just mention the Mark Wahlberg one, where he gets up at like 3:30 a.m. and starts doing 2 workouts? Like some of those are just absurd.
Well, it's like the hustle culture to an extreme where it's like, yeah, not only am I working so hard, I'm depriving myself of sleep to show everyone how hard I'm working. And maybe just work a little faster. Like save yourself an hour on the day, get that extra hour of sleep.
Yeah, I guess I'm guessing for those guys at some point it is the routine just becomes so strong that it doesn't even feel crazy to them. I mean, waking up at 4 a.m. sounds insane, but if you do it a month in a row, then it's just your new reality.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be my reality coming up in a month and a half. But I am with you on that one. That I admire everybody out there who's up and an early riser. It is not me. It seems like it's maybe a little more Pete, but that's because the NFT world. I feel like the good morning thing for you is just you're carrying it over now and self-actualizing.
That's right. Yes, the GMs are actually they ring true this morning. I actually do feel like we need to greet each other with positivity.
Well, we need some positivity over at footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. We're packaged for 99 cents a week. Playoff DVOA rolled out, and they're chronicling, if you are a historical football fan, some interesting takes from our guy, Aaron Schatz, who is the founder over there and the editor-in-chief, breaking down some of the historical playoff DVOA performances that have been the most standout. I think the Niners were number one at that 44-3 game that they had against the Giants. But some interesting stuff over there, so go check it out, footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. I think that particular column is free, but everything else, there's a lot of great data behind the paywall in front of the paywall. So go check it out. 99 cents a week at footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. And of course, make sure you're following at Splash Play Pod so you'll never when we're doing an episode, including these random ones that are coming up because no show tomorrow. Today, we're doing an early morning one because as mentioned on Monday's show, Pete's going to be a big California boy having a good time, enjoying himself out there, getting away from, this is fucking disgusting weather. Like you don't get this kind of weather in LA.
Whenever you say big California boy, I like picture a caricature version of me in a diaper eating a California burrito on the beach or something. Pete's big trip to California. Yeah, I was looking at the weather in Tahoe. It's very cold, but it is sunny skies. So yeah, I don't think I'm getting much different weather, although hopefully better scenery.
Tahoe's like a luxurious cold though, where it's like cold, but it's like deliberately so. Whereas here, I was looking up like French drains for our backyard because it's just muddy and gross, and the dogs go out there, and it's like that's not Tahoe. There's never been a hint of mud in Tahoe. It's just rich people having fun in hot tubs.
Yeah. There are lots of different versions of Lake Tahoe. Like I've done the ski trip version, I've done the summer trip version. This is actually a new version. This is just going to an Airbnb and DJing and watching football and playing poker. So yeah, lots of different ways to do Tahoe apparently.
So the D-jetting will start with the divisional round. And let's talk about Monday Night Football real fast. And if you're watching live or after the fact, please hit that like button. Helps us out a bunch and probably wakes us up too. The Rams eliminating the Cardinals 34-11, a limp effort that saw Cam Akers seize back half the backfield workload. Kyler Murray implodes on the big stage once again. And besides that, Pete, not the most fun game to watch, kind of just a slog throughout where the Cardinals, one of the teams that we did invest a little bit in best ball, did not come through at all. And just a downer of a showing here. I feel like from two teams that should know each other better. And I don't know what you make of the Arizona error at this point, but the Rams clearly the better team. More fun matchup, I think, against the Bucs. But the Cardinals, to me, they started so hot. They were a Super Bowl contender, and now you see them just that limp effort on Monday night, the first Monday night wild card game ever. And it's just, I think you got to be embarrassed if you're a Cardinals fan.
Yeah. And I think what, got all of us is their fast start to the season where Kyler Murray was a legit MVP candidate. I was just even pulling up their box score. They cleared 30 points in 6 of their first 7 games. Like this was one of the funnest, most explosive offenses in the league. And then they just turned into a pumpkin. Even looking at some of these games, getting walloped by the Lions, I felt like that was probably the canary in the coal mine of, all right, this team isn't who we want them to be. So yeah, in retrospect, it looks fairly obvious that this team peaked way too early and was not ready to go on a Super Bowl run. But it seemed like all of us collectively had just kind of hoped, can they turn it back on? Because we knew the potential if this offense got going. But yeah, it was a very uninspired team down the stretch. And the Rams definitely exposed them.
Do we think, and I DeAndre Hopkins, I think we've talked about on this show enough throughout the year, a guy that just wasn't spiking that upside. That to me, when I was running my projections, I've talked about, just never popped up in a meaningful way. Like you'd expect a guy like DeAndre Hopkins to, given the, the track record, what he's done in previous years. This year, he was just kind of a cog in that Cardinals offense. But I do feel like him not being in the receiver room was not great, or just not being available on the field. Like whatever it was, like this team had no fight at all in that game in a way that felt pretty pronounced to me. And that's going to come down to coaching. And you got to put a lot of the blame on Cliff Kingsbury's table, I think. But I do think having no DeAndre Hopkins, like a guy who we know is a gamer, who cares a lot about what they're doing out there, I feel like that could be something. And it's not really a hard data point because he wasn't doing a whole lot, again, in that wide receiver core. But I feel like not having him out there, just to me, kind of flattened them out in a way that I feel like they weren't prepared for.
Yeah, and Cliff has gotten the fake sharp stuff a lot this year, and I definitely have come to agree with that take. He seems very stubborn with how he runs his offense, where he has his vision for it, and it doesn't matter who the personnel is. It's like, all right, we're down Hopkins and AJ Green's out. Well, we'll just put Antoine Wesley outside and we'll just throw to him as if he's DeAndre Hopkins. And it's like, is that really the best way to run your offense? Or should we be, scheming more stuff for Chase Edmonds and Rondell Moore and getting those guys into space and, playing to the talent you have? And it just never seemed like he was willing to maximize whatever personnel he had at his disposal. And it was a lot of their, downfall did coincide with DeAndre Hopkins, leaving the lineup. And, as one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, he, I think, helped pull a lot of attention and open up other things. So, yeah, I think the combination of Nuke, Cliff being a fake sharp, not being more inventive. I think those two things kind of put a nail in their coffin.
Even some of the success they've had in the past with Christian Kirk, he was actually pretty good. I think he was one of the bright spots since Hopkins went out, but they really stopped using him the same ways that he had success in the past, where no bubble screens for him. None of these kind of short dink and dunk throws. He ended up being more of a downfield guy, which is great if you are hitting those throws downfield, but not as great when you are just looking for any way to get the ball into space and something that could be useful. And I was actually saw Christian Kirk on an Instagram story. He's dating some she's not like an influencer, but as somebody who I think was on the cusp of being an influencer and then stopped, who I'm still following from, I think, my Barstool days, some Middle Eastern girl in Arizona. And then she was feeding him
Can I just say that's the most Spags anecdote ever? I mean,
it's a total non-story too. It's like, oh, this girl I follow on Instagram is dating Christian Kirk.
Jesus.
Point being, Pete, she is like she has enough followers where like it's not following a random girl who's dating an athlete. To be clear, like,
Okay,
she
go
she was
ahead.
trying to be famous at some point.
All right, go ahead, Spags.
Anyway, so she made him like a Greek bowl or something, and it just was just on my feed, and like he's just there sadly eating a Greek bowl, and he's like just like this, just like crestfallen, and she says something to the effect of, "He likes this more than it seems." It's like Christian Kirk is just depressed.
Well, there you go. Nothing like waking us up in the morning than scrolling through Christian Kirk's girlfriend's Instagram feed.
Look, she's attractive. They've been together for a while, Pete. I just want to see love bloom. It's not about her. It's about seeing young love of an athlete who's important in my life. Really having that be a fixture in what I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it sounds like she's been an important figure in your life as well for how long you've been following her.
I might have shot a DM of 5 years ago. Something in the hopes it would work out. But yeah, Ozzy Oskin, very attractive girl. Good for Christian Kirk. We'll have a nice fallback for his disappointing football season. The schedule coming up here for the NFL game Saturday, Cincinnati, Tennessee kicks off 4:30 p.m. on CBS. San Francisco, Green Bay, the night game, 8:15 on Fox. Sunday, you got the Rams at Tampa Bay, 3 p.m. on NBC. And then the Buffalo, Kansas City game, the one that our boy Pete will be flying for, that everybody's waiting for, 6:30 p.m. Has that line moved at all, actually? Because it was at 55, and I didn't look to see if it did move.
Oh, the line?
Yeah.
I thought I had seen it at 54.5. Yeah.
So
Okay.
slight drop there, nothing too crazy. I was hoping it was going to be up to like 59 and a half. I could be like, hey, Pete, the line went up 5 points just because you're not going to see it.
I love that you're finding joy in me not being able to fully watch this game. You're sick.
I just hope it's like, I think it's funny to me because we have the same thing coming up in a couple of weeks where we're doing our baby shower on the NFC championship time. And then my girlfriend Alex was like, yeah, well, what if the Eagles make it? Like, yeah, good luck with that. I don't think you're gonna have to reschedule the baby shower because of that one. But like, anytime you schedule things for football, especially if you plan this for yourself and your whole weekend is being, debaucherous and watching football. But I feel like whenever somebody else schedules something and it's like, oh, that's football time, I just feel like you feel that sitcom kind of urge to mock the guy to be like, oh, I guess you're going to Home Depot instead.
Yeah, exactly. And I am like looking at my calendar because I did add everything on there. And because of, West Coast time, trying to understand it. The Bills game starts at... Well, no, trying to understand my windows here because I land at 10:15 in San Diego. I know I'm not going to be able to see anything on the Southwest flight. The game starts at 6:30. I think I'm going to have a 15-minute window if this game is on the longer side. I get off the plane, roll to the airport bar, and catch overtime before I hop on my cross-country flight. And then I am going to just be hugging strangers, Spags. I'm going to become friends with all these Bills fans that are at the bar. It's going to end up being the greatest night of my life. And then I'm going to come back on this show on Monday and say, hey, you fudded my schedule planning, but really it was the greatest moment of my life.
I just like you saying, I'm figuring out West Coast time. Like you're working through the geophysics of it all.
Well, you try juggling West Coast flight times and game times and layovers, and you try to figure out my schedule, genius.
I would love to figure out your schedule. I would also love to figure out Jimmy Garoppolo's schedule, Pete, because he is in the news again. Shoulder and thumb injuries, practiced in full yesterday and is expected to play, but has said openly, an exact quote saying that he won't be 100% for Saturday night's tilt at Green Bay. I know you've got Trey Lance in the thumbnail that people can see over my left shoulder over here. Trey Lance season looking like it's not going to happen, though, because Jimmy G will be out there as a rotting corpse if he can. How do you feel about his chances here where he's openly talking about injuries? To me, just makes me feel not great heading into that Saturday night game.
Yeah, it was weird because yesterday I wrote up the newsletter and the rumors and stuff was like, this is bad. He seems truly questionable for this weekend's game. I got all excited about potential Trey Lance. And then oh no, he was a full participant at practice yesterday. Cam Inman, reporter, said he was throwing with zip, no sign of pain despite the sprained shoulder and thumb. I have no doubt he's starting. So it's like, what? I mean, who made that rumor? They should be outcasted, blackballed from the fantasy football for making me get my hopes up with Trey Lance.
Well, here's the thing that also upsets me. We can tie this into the 2-day slate. So I said it in the intro. I don't like the 2-day DFS slates. It's also, quite frankly, if you're a casual player, you are not going to be beating the sharp players who are going to be optimizing those lineups and have 24-hour window, like an 18-hour window, basically to get where they need to get to for Sunday. I feel like that's something that dampens my enthusiasm. But also, like, you could be dead in the water with Jimmy Garoppolo playing one drive and Trey Lance comes in Saturday night and ends up having the game of his career. And because you didn't play the backup QB at 1% ownership, you'll feel like your lineups are completely dead, and they might actually be dead. And I just hate that part of the 2-day slates, and Jimmy G being the Saturday night hammer, I guess you could call him, or lack of a hammer, the Saturday night limp drill pool noodle, whatever you want to call Jimmy G. I just feel like that's sort of, it's just a bad construct for a 2-day slate in particular. And I just feel like, to me, this is just, it's bad signs all over the place for how this is going to break down.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a very, very rough spot. I mean, based on the game that Jimmy G played against the Cowboys, like any competent team in that spot would have handled the 49ers when Jimmy G had his meltdown that we all expected. So yeah, I think this is an incredibly tough spot, but it is also just hard to count out the Niners the way they play football, because they can keep games close. Their defense is solid. They can get a pass rush going and they can establish it on the ground. So it's hard to, fully write them off, but it does feel kind of like the Pats situation, where if the Packers get up 10 points, like, I don't know if this version of the Niners is going to be able to play catch up mode on the road there.
Yeah, the thumb and the shoulder, certainly not great for your QB. And I think, and I have to ask you though, do you like the 2-day slate? Because I don't want to fixate it on too much if you feel completely differently. And I know there were some people, the FF Doctor guy over at Fantasy Footballers I saw was tweeting about that and was like, yeah, like, I'm so excited for the 2-game slate. And I'm sure there are people out there who feel really strongly about it in a positive way. I just hate not being done with that first day. And that's probably been part of my mental barrier with best ball that I've overcome because of the courage of Pete and some of our guests on the show making me feel smarter about things. But I do think, like, a 2-day slate, I just would rather have the two, like, separate slates. And I might be alone in that completely.
Well, see, yeah, I think we are, because I hate the 2-game slate. So I'm actually excited to make a couple lineups for the 4-game slate. I played the 3-game slate on Yahoo on Saturday last week. There was ended up being an overlay in that, and I enjoyed that. But yeah, the 2-game slates, I think it's just my own playing style. I feel like on the main slates or showdown, like, I feel like I'm dialed in with how much leverage and how contrarian I need to be. Whereas the 2-game slates kind of just warp my brain with, I either tend toward eating too much chalk or getting way too galaxy brain. So I don't know. I always think having more options is better. It's more chances for the field to make mistakes and more chances to, get unique in spots. So I enjoy the slow drip of a 4-gamer.
Okay. I suppose for me, then I will plant my flag as not being a fan. And it's mostly because, like, you'll see just so many dead lineups from that Saturday. All it takes is, like, really one guy busting of some note. So, like, let's say if Gio gets steamed up, and I haven't seen ownership projections yet. I know Osmo updated theirs. And I think, again, accounting for a 2-game slate, it was broken for the first run. It was like 12.5% for every ownership projection. And they'll get that sorted out over the next, I'm sure, 5 hours or so. But that was a random assessment of the time that they'll get the ownership projections fixed. But point being, there will be logical numbers at some point. But for now, I just feel like I don't have any read on the slate. I don't know who's going to be owned and who's not. I just know whoever I have is going to have a snowflake next to their name come Saturday night.
Yeah, and Jason here in the chat mentioning that the 4-game is late swap mania. Definitely take advantage of that. And that, to me, is kind of fun because I still think in general people aren't late swapping enough. But on top of it, you have more time to gather information. You think about late swapping on a main slate, you're waiting to see how your 1 p.m. guys perform. And literally a touchdown could change whether you want to late swap or not. Whereas with these, you can kind of really think, all right, like, I can see where the field is at. You have time to process it and then realize what you need to get off of. Although my methodology this weekend will probably not be that dialed in. I'm going to be the guy just hand building on my phone and probably forgetting to late swap, because that's how it goes when you're on the road.
Yeah, and if you are like me and also playing NBA DFS, congratulations. Now the NFL gets a little more like NBA DFS with just the need to late swap to even hit the cash line, and that'll probably be the case this weekend. Other news, Derrick Henry's taken contact in practice. Supposedly will have his status for this weekend confirmed on Friday, which is helpful given that they are playing on Saturday. But Derrick Henry getting back in, Pete, we know this is a huge one for the Titans. Also one where it could be less of a big deal than people will treat it as, where I think people are going to be running to jam Derrick Henry back into their lineups. And really all it takes is a game script where the Titans get, really just boat raced early on by this Bengals team that we know can put up a lot of points. And I feel like that's something that people need to be aware of too. Prepare yourself for the Derrick Henry getting 5 carries and being game scripted out and just not being healthy enough to go. Like, that's a route that could happen. But how are you feeling overall? Let's say, without accounting for, the many ways that he can fail, how are you feeling about Derrick Henry's prospects this weekend?
Yeah, I agree with your premise that I feel like the field is a little too overconfident in, Derrick Henry's ability to just come back and get 25 touches and just be the bulldozer that he's always been. And you see that reflected. I think we'll see it reflected in ownership this weekend. We were talking about even the second chance FFPC playoff contest last night on ship chasing. And just because running back's so gross, I think people want to be able to hang their hat on Derrick Henry. But, reading up on his stuff yesterday, he still hasn't technically been activated. Like you said, he was doing some contact drills at a padded practice. But if he does go, it's going to be with a steel plate in his right foot. And we've also seen, I feel like the Cam Akers comp is a fair comp, where we saw him come back 2 weeks ago, week 18, and he got mixed in a little bit, but Sony Michel was still kind of the lead. And then a week later, in the wild card round, we saw Cam Akers kind of really take the reins as the lead back. And I think that's probably more the trajectory you're going to see with Derrick Henry, where he gets 8 to 10 touches. And then if they win, then maybe it's full systems go for Derrick Henry. But I don't think he's just this uber smash this week. And we don't even know if he's playing for sure yet.
Yeah, and also it is one of those injuries where he probably couldn't keep the conditioning up at the level you'd like because of, as Pete mentioned, a steel plate in your foot. And that's one of those old school pro wrestling things too, where it'd be like, oh, this guy has a steel plate in his arm, and then he would use it like as a weapon in a match. For your foot in a football game, you probably can't do a whole lot with that either. So it's not even a benefit to his ability to hit people hard and make them feel pain. So I would say for Derrick Henry, exercise some caution. I would certainly not want to go above the field on Derrick Henry this weekend. I agree with your take. I don't have that level of confidence in him just being able to get out there and be full speed. And Deonta Foreman does lurk as a logical pivot point as well, as we've done in some of the best ball drafts that we've had on Underdog. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, full practice on Wednesday. Darrell Williams missed with a toe issue. We saw the emergence of Jerick McKinnon last week. Pete, how are you feeling about CEH, Darrell, McKinnon? And I guess, how would you rank the backfield for the Chiefs now with CEH coming back in?
Yeah, it's tricky. There's two really, it's, unstoppable force versus immovable object, because Jerick McKinnon looks so good. You say, how do we take the ball out of his hands after what he did? On the other hand, we've seen them repeatedly go back to CEH. CEH misses time, Darrell Williams playing well, and then boom, CEH comes back and is getting the majority of the touches. So I don't have a good read on this one. I do think Darrell Williams not practicing and being out will clean it up a little bit. I mean, I do feel confident Jerick McKinnon is going to get work. And I think he's even going to get, like, his floor to me is like 40% of the touches. I think he should probably get 80% of them, but I just don't know in what band that they are going to give CEH. I think optimal would be, 70 to 80% for McKinnon, and then let, CEH work in maybe on early downs a bit more, just because McKinnon looks so good and explosive in the passing game. So I'm kind of willing to, I think a nice comp, and we were talking about this even on the Swolecast yesterday, is kind of Leonard Fournette last year, where he kind of emerged, surprised everyone. People weren't banking on him being their bell cow back. And then it took multiple weeks for the field to kind of buy this new reality. And I could see that happening with McKinnon, where it's like, yeah, this is this, beleaguered guy who has never really hit in the NFL despite all this promise. He just flashed in the pan. We're back to CH, where I'm kind of willing to buy low on, the field coming around on that and just jam Jerick McKinnon, kind of trusting that he is the bell cow.
And Jerick McKinnon, too, I agree with your takes, too, that he did offer a lot in the passing game that feels like a kind of a missing weapon for what the Chiefs have done with their attack overall. We're just having a guy out of the backfield. I know CEH in the beginning of his career was getting that Marshall Faulk comparison, a guy who can have a lot of targets out of the backfield and be productive, but he's kind of just settled into a run between the tackles guy with a few targets here and there. Whereas it felt like Jerick McKinnon was like a lively part of that offense that, maybe it's just him coming off the pine after not playing a whole lot for basically the last 3 years. But I think in this spot, I agree with your take that CEH, I don't expect to get the full workload. Darrell Williams, I think, is now a clear number 3. Maybe looms as a low-owned GPP play on a slate where you still need to find a couple of those dart throws and hope that they do pop off. But Jerick McKinnon looked explosive. The pass game thing, it feels like maybe they discovered something they didn't even realize was there. So I agree. There's enough reservation in this backfield that maybe you don't trust any of them too heavily. The Bucks, Cyril Grayson, Brashad Perriman, and Ronald Jones did not practice on Wednesday. Leonard Fournette, according to Bruce Arians, is a quote-unquote wait and see. And also, John Brown apparently might get called up from the Bucks practice squad if Perriman and presumably Cyril Grayson miss again. The Bucks pretty banged up, Pete. We saw them really rise to the occasion last week in a game against the Eagles that ended up looking closer than it really was. And I feel like in this spot against the Rams, you'd probably want to see him be closer to full health. And I don't know who to trust here besides, I guess, Evans and Gronk.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think Evans and Gronk are going to be very, very solid. This backfield stuff, it's similar to the Chiefs where there's so much in flux here. Fournette had his quote yesterday on Twitter where he basically all but said, "Oh no, I'll be out there on Sunday ready to go." And then you have the Arians quote from yesterday where he said Leonard Fournette is still in wait and see, and he'll know more on all the injuries with a full practice Thursday. So I was when Fournette was not activated on Saturday, I thought that was pretty bearish for his overall health, just because you had to assume, depleted of all those weapons, that they would have wanted to get him back if he was any bit close. And the fact that the team just does not seem to like Vaughn or Bernard or kind of prefer to have them getting the majority of the touches. So I'm not convinced that Fournette is going to be a full go. That said, once he is activated and they say he's going to start, I do think they won't hesitate to give him, back to 80, 90%. Like, this isn't like the Darrell Williams scenario where he might have gotten, Wally pipped while he was out by Jerick McKinnon. Like, this team is going to give Fournette the carries if he's healthy.
Yeah, I would agree. But the hamstring has been an issue for him basically his entire career. So that's something I think, including in college. So something to keep in mind there. You are taking on a little bit of risk if you are going to try to trot Fournette out there. But I think he's certainly the most appealing option. I realize now, too, I've watched your other shows where you drink coffee. I have not seen you tap into a literal coffee pitcher for yourself while doing a show. That is an impressive commitment to coffee.
Yeah, my wife got up early, makes the pot of coffee, and then I steal it and bring it into the office so I can refill while I'm on the show.
Well, my girlfriend did not wake up this morning and went down to our guest bedroom at like 3 a.m. because I don't know, she couldn't sleep or something. So I had to take the dogs out before the show, threw me for a wrinkle. So it seems like we are living disparate lives, Pete.
Yeah, well, you also have a child on the way, so you're in a new reality.
Oh God, it is a terrible reality. Some of the chat was saying, "Oh yeah, enjoy not sleeping." All of that coming before, and Frederick saying, "The poor." I guess the people do want your coffee noises, and that's make sure you can really ASMR that up.
I was listening to Levitan's solo pod from, I think it was this week or last week, and he was talking about how, when you have a kid and, people want to have small talk and be like, "Isn't it like the greatest thing ever?" And he looked at this, it must have been like a friend of his wife, and he was like, "No, it's fucking awful. It's been," and she like went white on her face. He was like, I can't lie about that first, few months of having a kid. It truly is awful. So you do have that to look forward to.
One of my best friends too also had his baby with his significant other and a little girl, and it's like I'm now going to see everything that's going to be coming down the pipeline 6 weeks in advance. And then also, like, if their baby's like fantastic, apparently the first night the baby wasn't crying, just like kind of slept it off and whatever, and was well swaddled and went to bed. But if their baby is like perfect and ours is a fucking demon out of hell, it is going to really put a damper in our friendship. One of my closest friends since high school.
You're saying that you would have baby jealousy of looking over at that other baby. Yeah, baby envy. Yes. Why couldn't my baby be as sleepy as yours?
Yeah, this your adorable sleeping baby. Mine is just up climbing the walls like some sort of demon spawn, which, yeah, quite frankly, might be. Other injuries, Bengals and Rams seemingly completely healthy. Ben Skronek, I think, was the only guy who's having some issues for the Rams, but Rams really ebbing in the right direction. The Bengals have pretty much been healthy all year long, I guess, besides some defensive issues. But these two teams, Pete, I feel like at a certain point, probably have to look at it as an advantage that they're not having to deal with any of these moving parts and just reintroducing guys or getting guys healthy and hoping they can hang on.
Yeah. I really want the Bengals to be a thing. And to me, they're kind of like the anti-Cowboys, right? Where they had the personnel to go really pass happy, lean into this explosive offense. And they're actually doing that. They really kind of changed their identity. They had that stretch there for a while where they were extremely pass heavy. I was actually just writing up the newsletter today and was checking out Rich Rebar's worksheet over at Sharp Football. And he had this interesting stat that the Bengals have thrown the ball on 62.8% of their first and second down snaps outside of the fourth quarter in each of their past 3 games. Prior to that point, the Bengals had thrown the ball on 51% of those early down snaps. Burrow has rewarded that faith, completing 75% of those passes for 635 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. So to me, that's the hallmark of a smart team that's willing to throw early. You know, the typical pattern for the Boomer offense is run it twice, and then you're in 3rd and long, and then you'll finally capitulate and throw. The Bengals just coming out, playing to their strengths. I think that bodes really, really well for their success and what I think will still be a tough road spot in Tennessee.
Yeah, and they could certainly, flush a game away with Joe Mixon too, a guy who is as qualified of a running back, a guy who can get 30 touches and be useful with them. But I agree, like Zach Taylor coming in, I kind of thought with his coaching pedigree and the tree that he was in, a lot of the young buzzy coaches that he's worked for, that he would come out and start slinging it. And he really did run the ball at a high rate. But I think it could be kind of a case like Nick Sirianni for the Eagles, where you're just trying to lean to your team's strengths. Now the team's strength is clearly the passing game, and they have a potential, really every round to blow teams away and at least make it tough on, these teams coming back from a touchdown or 2 deficit. So I'm with you. I think trying to keep it passing would be a logical move, and the Bengals being healthy and the Rams as well. I think you got to give them a little bit of a plus sign, even if the books aren't doing that. And one news item, Pete, that I'm just going to throw out there. It's not related to the playoffs, even though this team was in the playoffs, but I just saw this on the Betsperts app, actually just combing through the news right before the show. QB Dwayne Haskins expected to get a chance at #1 job in Pittsburgh. It was a headline. If you are a Steelers fan, would that be the darkest timeline? I think that's even darker than Mason Rudolph.
It would be perfect because Dwayne Haskins, in a lot of ways, I feel like Big Ben, current version of Big Ben and Dwayne Haskins are like the Spider-Man meme. It's just like, it seems like you'd get the exact product, maybe a little less accuracy on your 5-yard throws. But man, that would absolutely be devastating as a Steelers fan, as this is how you're transitioning into the next era.
I think every offseason there's probably some similar notes, but I'm really excited for this offseason just to see how these guys all, how this all works out, because this is probably setting up to be one of the biggest QB carousels, and it's not a great draft class coming in either. There's only I think 1 to 3 QBs people feel pretty good about, and even then not as good as the last few years. I just think this is really an offseason where we're going to earn our bones doing this show, Pete, because we're going to have to track a lot of movements and stupid trade rumors that probably have no basis in reality.
Yeah, Paul here in the chat saying he wants Pitt to trade a draft pick for Derek Carr. I mean, we are entering that territory too, where the Derek Carr types, they're not, what would be the term? Like, they're not elevators. Like, they're not going to make your, offensive players better in the way that the elite QBs do, but just being baseline competent could make you a playoff team. Whereas these guys are going to become so valuable because there are so many situations where the quarterback play just prevents a team from even having a chance in the playoffs. Like the Broncos are the perfect example. I think they're a really well-rounded team, explosive playmakers, but if you do not have even just a baseline competent quarterback, just good night, game over. You're not competing in this league. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see with the draft, with the free agents. I'm still mad that the Broncos didn't take a stab at a running or a quarterback in this draft. I thought that was a mistake, passing on Fields just as a process standpoint. So I don't know. These teams need to be taking as many stabs through free agency, through draft at quarterbacks, because you have no chance without one.
Yeah, and raising the floor, I think, is what you're talking about with these QBs, where a guy like Carr just gets you to a more credible level of week to week of just being able to do something and give you, 250 to 300 plus passing yards that he can do. And I'm with you. I think that Carr, personally, I don't think he goes to Pittsburgh. I think that the Raiders run it back. I think they saw enough from Bisaccia that they think they can probably make some strides. But new GM, maybe a new coach as well. Who knows how that'll go? And hopefully, for Steelers fans out there, hopefully they'll get somebody better than Dwayne Haskins. What do we want to do next, Pete? We could do the ride or die picks for the divisional round. We could do, I don't know if we want to do a playoff best ball today for the gauntlet returns. We can do that as well. What's in your heart? And also, Nana Pete, old people love waking up early too.
I'm down for any of that. I do think we did a mitten draft last night on Ship Chasing, and it was fun. So I'd be happy to do a mitten draft right now before we do ride or die, if you'd like.
All right, yeah, let's do that. We'll do a little mitten draft. Of course, we are playing over at Underdog for all of our best balls, and they've been rolling out even more best ball contests, I think, as perhaps at a surprise. The mitten returning, I did not know was on the radar, and I granted I have not joined the partner Discord yet, which is on my to-do list. So sorry, Andrew, if you're listening to this one. But I do think the mitten being back, fun one, low price tag. You don't have to pay the $25, so that is a positive for the people out there who've been seeing our playoff best balls and want to get a little taste for themselves.
Yes, I'm guessing this will be a friends and family draft. People joining here with us this morning, I'm assuming are watching. And yes, on the partner Discord thing, all the chatter in there is like, I can't believe Spags isn't in here. Yeah, it's just spent a lot of shit talking.
Just everybody being really mean to me and being like, "Oh, Spag, don't even let him in. Don't even he can't know about the mitten returns. We can't give the plebes access like that."
Yeah. All right, we do get Willis in here. Every single one of these drafts that I've done, and I've only done a few of these new ones, I was inverted is in them. This guy is just absolutely blasting off on these drafts. Doesn't matter what hour. He was in our draft last night on ship chasing at like 10:30 p.m. and now he's in this one, 12 hours later. I mean, what a grinder.
What a grinder. And Willis is awesome in the chat. What a fish that guy seems like, huh?
Yeah, Willis in a mitten. Willis would never miss an on-stream mitten. Paul, you're inverted. You're sick. You're in every draft.
You can tell by the Spike Week logo. This is a man committed to best ball. Of course, our friend Eric Beimfler's show. But now you know why he's grinding. He knows that it's plus EV just to jam as many into the mitten as possible.
Yeah, he heard us on Ship Chasing talking through the strategy. Although we actually liked our team that we drafted last night, and we had the 101 last night, and we built, just so you know, we built a Green Bay and Bengals Super Bowl kind of stack. So what would you like to do here? It can be dealer's choice.
I was thinking Green Bay because we have not gotten the Devontae Adams portion of things. We have gotten a lot of Aaron Jones, but I think at this point, leveraging off of that a little for our remaining best ball teams that we drafted on here, feel like seems logical.
Yeah, and that other team that we did draft on stream is still looking good.
Yeah, we lost the two cards, unfortunately, in that one, which would have been nice to have whatever else besides Christian Kirk and Chase Edmonds. But yeah, I feel the bill stack alone could carry us. I know there was some. This is a question for you, Pete, and I know you probably have talked about it on Ship Chasing a little bit because you and Gretchen Crane are so deep in the world and even doing your own ownership projections for FFPC. But like, are you accounting for ownership at all with this stuff? Like, it's probably too late now, but like that bill stack, I worry after reading some Twitter threads that like we drafted a really good team, but probably a pretty highly owned one that's going to be duped a lot.
Yeah, I think there's some concern with that. I do think the place where you get unique is with your last round pick because it's impossible to avoid the fact that the majority of the players you draft are going to be drafted in every contest. And then you reverse engineer that. People are likely stacking teams. And so I think, the groupings of players will have more overlap. And that's why I do think, getting weird with that last pick, like last night we were lamenting in a Burrow onslaught that we should have taken Pirine as our last pick, just knowing there are logical outs here. We're playing for the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl. What if Joe Mixon gets hurt? It would be nice to have a running back from our Super Bowl side that we're projecting, yada, yada. And that would have been a contrarian pick that probably gets drafted in less than 10% of drafts. So I think being smart about where you're getting contrarian is a way to do it. Like there's no point in taking a 5th round pick with your 101 overall pick to get unique because he's still going to be drafted and people are just going to have him later than you. So I do think those last couple rounds are where you can justifiably get funky.
So it looks like we got scooped on the Bengals pretty well as our own Packers stack. So what do we do now?
I was going to say, Titans? Good God. I was going to say, yeah, Diggs would have been a smash if he fell to us, but I think we double tap Titans here.
Yeah, I think it's Titans.
And again, this goes back to, how just for, I'm going to pick AJ Brown first, just ceremoniously.
Spiteful towards Derrick.
I got to lower his ADP a little bit, but I do think if I was playing the Titans as a loss, I would be happy to fade Henry and maybe grab Foreman and play that. But like, if we're playing for a Titans Green Bay Super Bowl, like Henry's going to need to be rolling. So I do think that tells a logical story.
Yeah, and I think we're in the same spot we were the other day where we're gonna have to take Tannehill again. And it's funny because like getting the Titans, like we talked about the 538 numbers and how just having that bye week, being the number 1 seed, getting that home game is so big towards all the simulations and how these teams should advance. And I think that's something where like we shouldn't be falling back into Titan stacks. I don't think like I think people are really undervaluing them too much. And we got fucked on all our other stacks like Green Bay. We're going to be, pretty screwed on and all that. But I think the Titans, like the fact that they're basically free in these drafts and you could still get the full construct, it doesn't seem like the most logical to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think quarterbacks got overdrafted in this one, probably. Like I was inverted, has a couple outs now because he can sit and wait, knowing he has both Cooper Kupp and Joe Burrow. We could still make a pivot if we did want to build around one of those QBs. We'll see if he grabs one now. And it's also really hard to know. I'm guessing Willis won't take another quarterback. I never know with some of these other guys, if they're willing to do it. And I was inverted as smart. He knows we're not going to take Joe Mixon, right? So he can grab T. Higgins, keep building out this really nice Bengals stack, and know he's going to have it coming back. We kind of have the same luxury. I think we can probably roll the dice on not taking Tannehill here and really building out our skill position. So I would say Dylan is obviously a great pick for us here just because we are playing for that Super Bowl. But who would be the other kind of skill position player you'd want to take if we kick the Tannehill can down the road?
I think Dylan's the move. Because at this point too, we have Adams, so like we can't go to our usual Niners grouping either. Yeah, I think to me I think it's Dylan. I don't feel like there's
no. Dylan was the lock, but who do you think for this?
For the next one.
Pick?
Okay, so I don't think we should go AFC. I think we should just keep riding with the Titans. So I might take Akers just at the other side of the bracket.
I agree with that take because we don't want to take 49ers. So we're kind of looking at Rams, Tampa Bay. There's no good Tampa Bay. I would also entertain Chiefs or Bills. But I do think Akers probably represents the kind of best pick for this build.
And I just think too, like based on what we were talking about, a couple of rounds ago, like with the Titans, people just aren't drafting that full Titan stack and prioritizing them. Excuse me. So I think if we are prioritizing them, I think that we can get sort of whatever we want of the NFC flotsam and hope that we can get maybe a few different matchups while getting that full Titan stack without, paying too much of an ADP.
This is a really interesting dynamic to watch play out in these drafts just because everyone's, obviously trying to build around 2 Super Bowl teams. And so there's not enough teams, in the same way there was in the first contest where everyone could kind of stay out of each other's way. Like you look at Debo and not the player, this this user here, in Tanner, they were both building Chiefs Tampa Bay stacks. So they keep getting in each other's way. Jarrett gets sniped here, so he settles for CEH, comes back and grabs Pringle. It's just interesting to see when 2 teams are on the exact same stack there.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the appeal of the Titans is they're really not competing with, like, nobody's competing with you to get to the Titans. And at a certain point, they are the 1 seed. I think there's probably some advantage. Like you usually don't get advantage of taking the chalk or, one of the higher odds teams. And you can get that with the Titans for whatever reason.
So one thing I will say here is we could totally pivot to a Stafford as well if we wanted to. I think that's viable if you didn't want to do the Tannehill thing again.
No, I'm riding with Tennessee. I think we do Tannehill and Julio.
Yeah, I am completely fine with that. But it was interesting that he was there, and just because we had also already made a bet on the Rams, we could theoretically play for a Rams Titans Super Bowl where the Rams upset Green Bay. The problem is we probably end up adding on Van Jefferson and Higbee, but we don't have Kupp or Odell with our Stafford stack, which isn't ideal.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Stafford hits the highest heights largely because Kupp or really just Kupp, I think. But Odell too, we saw Monday night. I think you can say probably in line for a bigger playoff role than he's had. And also Debo's in the chat, Derek Richards. There we go. So we got everybody in the spot. You were right. It's a friends and family draft here in the Mitten.
That's right. Let's see. Tanner, reveal yourself now. And Elusive Vegas, although based on the name, it might be hard. to smoke
Honestly,
you
though,
out.
these guys, another advantage to watching Splash Play is that now Willis and Derek and Paul all know that we are doing a certain draft strategy. And these other guys who are on Underdog right now, no idea because they might not even know Splash Play exists.
No, I mean, they're probably laughing because they've done, in the same way on the initial gauntlet, I had done 50 plus of those drafts, the ADP inside out, how to push things. I've only done 3 or 4 of these second chance ones. And so I'm still feeling out the ADP, just talking it out as I go. So they're probably laughing at us being like, "Oh, young Padawan, we've already been through this stage of our gauntlet return journey."
Less anarchist than that last draft we did on Monday, where there's no like people completely upsetting the stack approach. Like everybody was going for and competing for similar stacks, but it does seem like this is more of a gentleman's draft room.
It is. Yeah. Other than this Debo Tanner Tampa Bay KC battle, which has been fun to play out, we got a Hardman Geo here. It is in this contest. I do think this is the GTO strat where it's just like figure out your Super Bowl and then just hammer it, because all the good skill position players from even the losing teams are already gone, right? Like it's not like you're getting huge discounts on the underdog best players because those points are so valuable. So in these rounds, it's just correlate, correlate, correlate.
Yeah, we're looking at our Revenge of Kevin Dyson Super Bowl where the Titans come back and barnstorm everybody when the whole world is turned on them. And yet, oh, there we go. Tanner's in the chat.
Okay, so now we just need Elusive. Elusive Vegas, are you in the chat?
This feels good. It feels like we are really hitting the audience we need to, except that they've already used the promo code to get on Underdog.
Yeah, Spags always hustling here. Wow, so interesting that Stafford's still hanging around. I do guess Willis would maybe take him. If not, I think we can entertain Chiefs and Bills, and I think we can entertain more Rams. So who do you want?
I would go more Rams, I think.
Shit. I just panicked and put Demarcus Robinson in because we didn't settle on anything.
We can also, Westbrook and Keen is there. We really want to round out Tennessee.
I don't mind. I mean, we are already so pot committed in Tennessee going far that I say we can toss him in there.
Why not? I mean, because I feel like we have enough at running back. Like we could maybe take a Tampa Bay guy just to hedge off of Akers.
The only other thing, if we want to play like Bills, grab a Beasley there, but let's just grab Westbrook.
Look, I think hoarding a market on Tennessee, again, not a popular take, and I'm willing to ride with that one because that's what the hand we got dealt here. Devontae Adams and a bunch of Tennessee assholes.
Yeah, Tennessee has. So in a perfect world, just construction wise, I would love, but we didn't even have the ability to do it. Like I would love if Demarcus Robinson was, say, Van Jefferson. And basically then we have our Tennessee onslaught that's good for a Green Bay Super Bowl or a Rams Super Bowl. But it's not a huge deal because we've onslaughted this. Like even if we get a Rams Super Bowl, we'll be happy to take the Akers points, but we'll be going against a lot of Cooper Kupp teams where it would have been nice to have like a little bit more ammo in a Rams Titans Super Bowl.
And now we got even more Titans potentially here. Deonta Foreman, Anthony Ferkser, all the good Titans bubbling up here in ADP.
Yeah, this is where I'm not even, I mean, all these guys are such thin dart throws that I don't think taking Deonta Foreman is even necessarily bad.
I also wouldn't mind taking DeGuara just to get another Packer in.
Yeah, I think that's fine too.
Which is not something I would honestly, it might be the first time we've said Josiah DeGuara's name all year long, but he's been playing snaps every week, just not doing much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to envision him sneaking into our lineup, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. He give you a touchdown and 2 catches in the Super Bowl, and that could be enough to get into your flex.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. We made a huge bet on Henry. I say we go DeGuara and beef up our Green Bay position.
All right. And then there we go.
Let's see here. So here is our team. We can check the other. Willis played this Bills Rams Super Bowl here. Interesting that Willis, I thought for sure you were going to maybe tack on a second quarterback just because Stafford was such an extreme value there. I probably would have been tempted to add Stafford just with your Odell Van stack, but certainly can't blame you for riding just with Josh Allen. I was inverted, did kind of backdoor this. And this is the kind of sharp move here from, he grabs Higbee knowing that Stafford might come back and be cheap for him there to pair with Burrow. And I do think that quarterback pairing makes more sense. Like Willis made such a big bet on Josh Allen. Like he needs 3 big Josh Allen games. Whereas with the Burrow, you didn't invest as much draft capital, just 5th round. So grabbing both an AFC and an NFC quarterback at those costs makes sense to me. Debo, I don't love taking 3 quarterbacks. I don't mind taking the flyer on the 49ers, but I would kind of pick your stand there. And not go with both of them. And probably Jimmy G at this point, just knowing that he practiced in full. But yeah, these are nice teams. Elusive does the Green Bay kind of onslaught without Adams, which is always kind of scary because it's like if the Green Bay makes a really, nice Super Bowl run, it's hard to envision Adams not being a big part of it. But,
Right.
You put the chips down where you can.
Yeah, I think Paul, I was inverted team. I think it's pretty solid. The fact that he got Stafford and Higbee, like he got all the core parts of that Rams team, and he's live for a Rams Bengals Super Bowl, which, would be very high scoring. And like he got the best parts of the Bengals too. Like I think Paul had a really good draft.
Yeah, Paul's draft is definitely my favorite. Being able to draft Cup and you're already making like you need 2 games from Cup, at least. But because Cup is so good, he could definitely still be viable in 2 games. So to then get his quarterback in the 9th round is just a really, really nice run out for him.
In Uzoma too in the last round, like that's that's a guy you actually can spike an upside. Did spike an upside already once, like it's not gonna happen every round, but
Yeah.
like he got every angle for the Bengals, and that team we just talked about, like they're so high scoring potentially.
Yeah. I like that. I do think it's the play now that we're down to just these 8 teams of just pick your Super Bowl and load up on them.
Yeah, the downside for Paul is that our Titan stack is going to knock him out after 1 round, but he did a great job for that 1 round.
He did. It was cute, the effort, but the Titans are going to the Super Bowl now.
All right, we got through about 50 minutes of this show, so let's hit our ride or die picks. And if you're watching live or after the fact, please hit the like button if you can. And also go to Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars and a review. We haven't been pushing that hard here, but I do think at the end of the season, what we're going to do is read some of our favorite reviews from the year, and because we're going to have to fill a lot more fucking airtime for the USFL hits the streets. So please leave us 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you make it funny, you got a good shot at getting right on the show, but also just make it nice, make us seem good. If somebody's coming across Apple Podcasts, they see that review of yours and they go, oh, these guys seem pretty cool. Maybe you'll get us a fan. And that's all we can ask for here. So we can give them a sweet Underdog promo code.
Keep talking through it, Spags.
Ride or die picks. The game is, I think last week we tied. We both had 1 10-pointer. I don't think that accounts for Monday Night Football. But at this point, we're just playing for fun because Pete won the regular season and that's bullshit. But let's do the ride or die picks for this 4-game weekend divisional round. Cincinnati, 21.8 implied points. Tennessee, 25.3 implied points. 3.5-point favorite here for Titans. Pete, what do you want as your first ride or die pick for our Saturday game?
Yeah. So I want to do something involving T. Higgins. I think he's kind of the forgotten man right now on the Bengals after, Burrow, Mixon, and Jamar Chase. Can I get a 10-pointer if T. Higgins is the highest scoring non-QB in this game? So over Chase, AJ Brown, Henry, Mixon.
Highest, man, that's a lot of guys. It doesn't feel like a 10-point. I feel like plus 2.5 I would give over everybody.
Okay.
So yes, outscore by 2.5.
What about, how about can I toss in the quarterbacks?
If you toss in the quarterbacks, I'll give it to you.
All right. Okay.
10-pointer for highest scoring guy. T. Higgins. Actually do like that call. I was thinking about T. Higgins for 200 yards might be a move, but I will go, I'll double down. I'm a Titans believer because we did 1 draft on this show. Ryan Tannehill, highest scoring position player in the game. Is that a 10-pointer?
Highest scoring of all of the positions.
Yeah, I guess his highest scoring player. Yeah.
No, I mean he's projecting as the second highest. You would need to see. This is like the same bet I'm making, but with an extra 5 to 6 projected points on Higgins. So
yeah, 3 is what I'm seeing, but okay. I get where you're going with that. All right, Tannehill outscores everybody by 2.5, or no, because it's more than Higgins by. I'll give you 4.5.
4.5 done.
Okay, fair. Next game up, San Francisco. Fucking these Titans are gonna. This was my pick weeks ago. Was like the Titans are gonna get boat raced and not make it out of one round, and now I'm just hedging everything. And apparently, the biggest Titans believer. Niners 20.5 implied points. Green Bay 26.5 implied points. The line has moved a little bit down in terms of the over under. Pete, actually, I'll go. No, I'll be nice. Pete, you can go first. It's a morning show. Why not? It's all positive energy right now.
10-pointer George Kittle outscores Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a reasonable one.
All right, book it.
Probably not more of a 7 or 8, I guess, but it's tis the season is what we are.
Tis the season. Thank you.
I will say, what if Deebo Samuel were to double the score of George Kittle? Is that a 10-pointer?
Deebo Samuel were to double the score. Double plus 2.5.
It's a difference of 2 points in the projection.
Not the projections I'm seeing. I'm seeing 20 points and 14, 6-point gap.
All right. Well, so it was double plus what?
2.
Plus 2? Plus 1.5?
No, I said 2.5 first, so you were supposed to negotiate back down to 2.
Oh, okay. I guess plus 2 then.
Yes.
Okay, fine, done. Sunday's games, we got the Rams 22.8 implied points, Tampa Bay 25.8 implied points. Kind of surprising. A little bit of a low total in this one, Pete, but I will go first, and I will take Mike Evans over 200 receiving yards. Is that a 10-pointer?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that.
I will give you that. Can I get 10 points if Gronk scores 2 touchdowns?
I mean that's one of those that probably is like that. The odds do match up. It doesn't feel like a 10-pointer, but I think that is a 10-pointer.
Thank you.
I also don't like. I don't know why I picked the 200 yards thing. I feel like that was just in my head from the the T Higgins part. And Mike Evans isn't going to get 200 yards.
200 yards is a big old number.
Like 150 at a touchdown, maybe 200 yards. Not the most likely.
Hey, it's too bad it's written in stone now.
That's true. Willis etches these like Moses into a tablet. That's right. Time. Buffalo 26.3 implied points. Kansas City 28.3 implied points. The marquee game nobody could ever imagine missing.
I knew you were going to do this.
TV. Pete, what do you want?
Yes, I will. 10-pointer if I'm able to pull up a stream of this on a Southwest Flight's internet.
That's going to be a 1-pointer. We believe in the good people at Southwest.
No, there's
promo code over at Southwest.
That would be a fucking 1,000-pointer being able to stream on a Southwest flight. Let's see here. I want this to be a Stephon Diggs game. Let's just go full YOLO. Stephon Diggs, 10-pointer, highest scoring player in the game, including the QBs.
Wow. Okay. I'll go a different direction here, and I'll lean into the narrative here that I've not played. That maybe this game will be less interesting than it seems. No Kansas City Chiefs player over 20 fantasy points. Is that a 10-pointer?
And that includes
Mahomes.
Yeah, I'll give that to you. Between Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey, not over 20 would be, and the running backs. Yeah, I'll give that to you.
All right, just chop it all up, Bills.
So a bad game and incredibly spread out for the Chiefs. That's your thesis?
That's what I'm hoping, yeah. So you get Pringle maybe at like 14, Tyreek at 18, Kelsey at 15.
All right.
It seems possible if you think about it.
It does seem possible. I do like the Bills in this spot.
Yeah, the Bills. Also, if you were to go through it, just to kind of fully cement things, pick your winners too for each game.
And so who I think is going to win or who I want to win?
Give both. So that way you can get a little bit of rightness on each side.
Okay. I really, really want the Bengals to win. I think the Titans are going to win. I want the Bills to win, and I think the Bills are going to win. I want the Niners to win, but I definitely think the Packers are going to win. And man, this last game, I'm not excited about either of these teams. I guess I would say I would want a Rams upset, but I think the Bucs are going to win.
I think I want a Rams upset, and I think I expect them to win. I think they're just a little healthier and a little more equipped at this point of the year. Cincinnati, I would agree. I want Cincinnati to win, but I do think Tennessee's getting slept on too much at this point, and as we just saw in our draft. Niners, I think, are not going to win. I would have liked them to win as well. And then the Bills and Chiefs, I think the Bills win this one, and I think I want them to win too. I want this to be the Josh Allen coronation season. I've decided after, like, he played, honestly regressed pretty hard this year, but that first round was so fun. Like, Josh Allen being good, I think, is the most fun thing in football right now.
I agree. And the reason I want the Bengals to win so bad is because a Bengals Bills or Bengals Chiefs is really, really fun. AFC championship game, because we know that though that could just be an insane shootout potential with how fast the Bengals play. Like, in the Bills don't take the foot off the gas. I mean, Bengals Bills would just be electric. And we didn't get that matchup this year. We did get the Bengals Chiefs kind of shootout game. So just for the sake of entertainment, I think we really want to see the Bengals win here.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Titans win. It's because we never get those matchups we really want. But I do agree for the people of Cincinnati and Buffalo too. Like, Kansas City's had their runs. The Titans, like, I don't really care that much about their fans, but Buffalo and Cincinnati fans care so much. Like, the people in those bars who got game balls from Zach Taylor in Cincinnati were so stoked. In Buffalo, we all know the Bills Mafia thing, but two teams that probably not the biggest markets, but could lead to some of the most fun AFC title games. Pete, what are your plugs here? What are your final shows before you go hit the road?
No final shows. I am done with shows. Spags, do you want to know my actual itinerary before I go to the airport?
Yeah, please tell everybody where can you find you at various airports around the country?
Yeah, so no, first I am going to go finish the newsletter. I am going to try to get a workout in. I need to finish packing. And then, I'll head to the airport around 2 p.m. Today, Spags, if you're trying to keep a radar on me.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go do some Zoom calls. Like, fun day here. Our fence is getting installed Tuesday. That's my plug. So if you're working for Lowe's and you're installing a fence in the Havertown, Pennsylvania area, come say hi to me when you're installing the fence. Follow at Splash Play Pod. Follow at Peter Overzet. Follow at Chris Spags. We'll be back Monday at the usual time, right, Pete?
Yeah, I'll be good. I Monday is going to be rough for me. I land in Boston after the red eye at like 5 a.m., but my hope is I can get a nice, 3 to 4 hour nap and then be ready to go. All
right, and we hope you guys have a successful weekend of games. Go get some drafts in on Underdog as well. Make sure to go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. 99 cents a week are the packages on there. And one more time, follow at Peter Overzet, follow at Chris Spags, and maybe Pete will post some hijinks from his travel, I think. Who knows, huh?
Who knows, Spags?
If
you guys promise to at me with play-by-play of the Bills Chiefs game, so I can just kind of read it in my mentions, I will promise to give you some Lake Tahoe content.
You send Pete some sick gifts of the game going on. Maybe he'll have a good time. And shout out to Chad as well, hanging out this bright and early. Appreciate Frederick, Willis, Derek, Ryan, Six, Paul. I'm just naming the chat names I'm seeing there, but we do appreciate all you guys hanging out. And we'll see you again Monday. Enjoy your weekends. Good luck.